Welcome. Thank you so much for staying. It's on the later PM hours for this afternoon. Very interesting subject, some really big names and some really cool tech on stage. We're going to be talking about crypto payments. First, if each one of our guests can present themselves and what they do.
Hey, I'm Terauldkalns. I'm CEO of Nexpay. We provide payments for crypto businesses. And I also co-host a podcast about Baltic tech. So if you're interested in the hottest region in Europe right now.
Shameless promotion. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's knowledge, so it's important. So yeah, here to talk about some payments.
I'm Sendi. I'm the Managing Director of Europe at Ripple. At Ripple, we provide crypto and blockchain solutions for enterprises. We're most well known for our payments network, cross-border payments network, RippleNet, which essentially leverages crypto and blockchain for instant settlement, treasury solutions, and lines of liquidity.
Hi, I'm Charteris. I'm the General Manager for Crypto.com. Very pleased to be here.
Hey, my name is Petr. I'm CEO and founder of Mercuryo. We provide fiat infrastructure for crypto businesses. And I have been doing online payments for more than 15 years, I guess. And would be happy to chat about crypto as a payment.
Cool. My name's Itai. I'm with MarketAcross. We are a Tel Aviv-based PR and marketing firm. All right, let's start. So countries are accepting it as legal tender. Countless brands are doing things. There's the metaverse. There's NFTs. Why isn't crypto payments everywhere? What's the hurdle? Is it a tech hurdle? Is it supply, demand? Why do we need to still have this conversation?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things driving this momentum more recently, right? I think one is over the last 10 years, there's been a lot of trials around the use cases being tested out, and by now some of them have been proven. Some obviously all that innovation is still going, but an example is the cross-border payment space, right? Today, if you look at at RippleNet, the cross-border payments network, we have hundreds of customers, millions of transactions, billions of dollars flowing through using crypto as a way to bring efficiencies to cross-border payments. So that's kind of one angle. The other angle, I think, is it's really coming from what we need as people, as users and businesses, right? Our lives are a lot more on demand, digital, global, instantaneous now, and that's why we want payments sort of to fit with that lifestyle. That's why we have this whole embedded finance kind of trend going on as well. And the challenge is, even though there's been a lot of innovation more in, let's say, in domestic payments, and at least in a lot of the sort of advanced parts of the world, domestic payments is still quite sort of real time, or at least quicker. Cross-border payments is still very, very slow. It's still based on this very antiquated sort of old infrastructure that was built before the internet, and it just doesn't keep up with the way we operate today, right? And I think crypto blockchain for the first time really gives us an opportunity to create more digitally native solutions that are much better fit for the way we live today. And then the last angle I would mention is sort of seeing all of these, some of these use cases sort of working out, being proven, not being so theoretical anymore, responding to people and businesses' needs. I think the governments and policymakers obviously are seeing all of this and have started honestly to recognize, right, when we look at a lot of the publication reports they're putting out, they do recognize the benefits in cross-border payments, particularly remittances. Financial inclusion is an important space. And that's, I think, bringing them to a place where they want to try out and see what's kind of out there, and a little bit of it is also, let's say, fear of missing out, right? Everybody's trying and they want to jump in the game, but it's a really interesting time. I think with all of these, the one thing I think really key is we still need sort of more clarity, and we need to see continued view from sort of regulation to work with the industry to bring those sort of clear rules of the road, sure, so that the industry can prosper.
Yeah, Sandy's right. There's a massive opportunity facing us now. Global financial infrastructure it's pretty antiquated in a lot of places, and we've just got a tremendous opportunity right now. There's probably 2 billion people in the world without access to financial services, and we have this amazing opportunity to build a global financial ecosystem that's cheaper, faster, more secure for them and much more accessible.
It's really important shift from having crypto just as an asset, where you just invest, hold, wait if it will grow. You would have 3 or 4 or 5, 10x. But using crypto for transfers, for payments, this is the new thing. We are just staying on the edge. And in Salvador and in other countries where crypto is starting to be used for cross-border payments, for settlements like Visa announced with USDC. So this is the real purpose of crypto.
Yeah, on the flip side of that, so clearly what you all talk about is,
It's opportunities. The question is the hurdles. So we all agree there's a lot of opportunity. That's why we're in this space. The question is, why isn't everyone already using it? Where's the failure point that we need to fix?
Yeah, I actually started answering that question already preemptively. So there's basically 2 main areas. So one is the underbanked and facilitating these payments, and the second there's a whole big crowd of people who don't have a problem with a bank account and with payments.
The overbanked.
Yeah, you could call them the overbanked. And when you do some checkout at your Zalando or whatever e-commerce, and you have the 15 checkout options, then you can feel a bit overbanked, I guess. But then it's not about crypto payments anymore. It's just about whatever's in your wallet and wherever it needs to go, and what's the fastest way. And it doesn't necessarily mean that crypto is the answer. It's a huge competition with the legacy system, with open banking, with the cards, and clearly crypto needs to show why is it better for these overbanked people. And I don't think it's clear.
Let's come back to hurdles.
Yeah.
The case here right now is that we have crypto and fiat like 2 different worlds. So, and when we talk that crypto will replace fiat, it is good. But strategically, actually, crypto will be just one more rail to execute payments. And the hurdle at the moment is that crypto is not linked with fiat. And when you want to make a payment for goods and services, there should be a switch to fiat. And there is still a gap.
So I think, and actually it's a very good follow-up for the second question. So the beginning of crypto payments, we thought about it much more on a B2C level, which is people made money through early investments in Bitcoin, ICO, Ethereum, or whatever, and they want to do something with that. Or lumps into the bank or credit cards to pay for their travel or whatever, and crypto payments was seen as that. But you're actually saying that you guys see the future more on the B2B level, where the crypto asset is maybe not the story, but the crypto infrastructure, and that's maybe much more of a B2B situation.
Yeah, we're certainly seeing, a great benefit. Again, we've been leveraging specifically XRP as a way to sort of bridge between 2 fiat currencies and move it across the world, and that is, allowing that to happen at a fraction of the cost with greater transparency and much more sort of efficient way. And we've seen that, a big uptick in that, right? So, I mean, last year, honestly, has been our most successful and massive growth year because we're seeing a lot of companies. We work with financial institutions specifically like that. That's where we see the sort of biggest growth. So maybe like the banks or payment providers and neobanks, etc., wallets. And they're seeing it's a quite unique proposition, and they're seeing the sort of the value of leveraging crypto kind of as part of that infrastructure to bring efficiencies and improve the way they serve their customers, serve their end users. I mean, I think what I referenced before, in a way, I see this kind of adoption of crypto and blockchain within the payment space as almost like a natural evolution of the payments digitization, right? I mean, I come from a payments background. I was at MasterCard before. And obviously, digitization has been happening for a long time, driven by a number of different technologies, accelerated by COVID. And I think to the extent that crypto can deliver some of those benefits to make things quicker, efficient, cheaper, on-demand, instantaneous, which it does in this sort of specific case. But it really depends on the use case, right? I don't think, a lot of different currencies apply for different things.
Yeah, but I think just following up on that, and I want your responses, is I think what he said earlier, which is crypto payments is just fiat. We're going to do fiat payments just better. Is that the future of crypto payments, just making fiat better?
I think that, well, let's come to the concept. We actually do not need to replace fiat. Crypto is the instrument, the tool to make the existing rails better. So let's not think in the paradigm that we are replacing. It will be an additional tool which helps you to do it faster, cheaper, that's all. So, well, this is the key point here.
On the B2B institutional level, that's where we see a lot of this, correct?
No.
Well, on that B2B level, basically, that's where I see the main driving of crypto adoption for payments is because there's the incentive. For the consumer, the overbanked consumer, there's no incentive. You know, you can get a decent payment done with a card or a bank transfer. It's not too expensive, relatively fast. But for the merchant, there's huge costs involved there. So there's the motivation to, and here comes the competition. So the more different kind of payment methods are being developed, the cheaper those services will be for the merchants, and then it will be also more accessible for the consumers. For the consumer, at the end of the day, as I said, from whatever's in your wallet to whatever you want to get. Yeah, don't care, crypto or fiat or whatever.
I think it's not sort of one versus the other, right? It's not sort of fiat versus crypto, or, you know, public crypto versus stablecoin. I think, you know, we'd certainly
we'll
be
get to stables
in
and see.
a multi-chain world, and multiple currencies, I think, will coexist for different needs and purposes.
Very cool. So there's anyone want more to respond? Or?
Actually, one more idea about the payments. So, you know, with crypto, there are some additional things. When you're a merchant and you receive it immediately. It's your money that you can have immediately. There's still an issue how you can deal with crypto. A lot of enterprises don't know how to deal with that, and that's why they convert it to fiat. And
especially when you want to do it with credit card, and the credit card may have 5 or 6 days to do a cancellation, and understandable. So let's touch 2 hurdles that, like, I think, for the main kind of crypto adoption. One is bank/regulation. So from, like, you know, in general, like, where are we seeing a lot of this evolving on the regulation side? Or maybe are banks starting to, because there's a lot of closed garden solutions. Where do you see this? Because, again, that's one of the biggest hurdles. There's regulators and banks, and historically, they don't love crypto.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, right now...
But we love them.
we love them. Right now is a massive shift happening. Now we're seeing the regulators starting to move. You know, the US, UK, UAE, Australia, they've all moved. And over the next few months, we're going to start seeing everyone else make some, you know, big shifts as well. And as they get more and more comfortable with it, they're starting to realize what the opportunity is for their business, for their marketplaces, investment, technology gains, that sort of thing. And they're all starting to get onto that bandwagon now.
I would add here, so I agree this the good progress, a lot of thinking about crypto, but still the first step for a lot of banks right now is crypto as an asset, and still not a payment method. Even Revolut,
the closed garden solutions offer it to their clients that they can buy or to sell it through them, but God no, don't bring your other crypto into
absolutely.
This.
Yeah. Don't touch any external wallets and etc. So even Revolut, who is doing crypto for more than 5 years, with more than 1/3% in their revenue coming from crypto, they just announced last year that you can withdraw crypto, still you cannot receive crypto. Yeah, so.
From a regulatory standpoint, you know, like regulation and innovation necessarily sort of they move at different opposite speeds, but they're both necessary, and they both have to kind of be in partnership. And I think, you know, sitting in a position of, you know, so we're a global company, I'm sort of more looking after Europe, but what we see is there's so many different approaches. You're right, you have kind of the outright bans from China and US kind of more...
That's every year we have the China ban. You know summer starts when there's a China ban.
There's that kind of, you know, regulation by enforcement from a US perspective. And then, you know, when we look at UK and Europe, I feel honestly quite fortunate that I know there's been some recent backlash, but at least the approach is very much of an engagement with the industry, right? It's like a discussion, learning, understanding, 2 ways. And the approach is very much about providing sort of clear rules of the game, putting together frameworks, etc. and which is, I think, important. And this is, you know, how I think sort of it's the best way to enable innovation to happen while still protecting consumers, etc. But as I mentioned, I think previously as well, I think for, you know, crypto to be a lot more accepted in payments, whichever way we're talking about, we need more of that clear regulation and guidance and rules of the road, and more of that approach, I think, globally in other parts of the world as well, where, again, we're seeing it here. Maybe we're seeing it in other places like Japan, Singapore is probably good examples, but maybe not as much in the US just yet.
Well, it also depends on the type of payments that we're talking about, because I guess the main use case that we're covering here is crypto being used to pay for stuff, right? And then obviously it will happen online. So there's all kinds of different, more complicated payments from an AML perspective, but buying stuff online for a regulator, it's quite plain vanilla. If you don't sell, you know, jets and the real estate for crypto online for big amounts, then I don't think there's any regulatory obstacles to do this, and I think it's definitely cannot be excuse for adoption of crypto that the regulators would be against selling, you know, T-shirts for Bitcoin.
So that's a perfect. I love that's exactly to what I see as the second hurdle, and that's maybe why we're more talking B2B, which is there a B2C interest of buying stuff with my Bitcoin? Like, are people really going and saying, I really wish I could go to Foot Locker or whatever and spend this Bitcoin that I have? Isn't that, because to the best of my understanding, most of people got into crypto for the assets value appreciation. So like there's HODL mentality, and so do you guys see a demand for people to physically spend their crypto?
You know, the thing here that, do you remember that place when you first bought online ticket, air ticket, using bank card?
Yes.
Some time ago, they were offline, and you then bought with a bank card your air ticket. And from that time, you will always buy it using bank card. So, and you are totally right that at the moment, majority of people, they treat crypto as an asset and they just hold it. But if there would be an infrastructure there where they can just transfer money and purchase something really easy, as they do right now with the bank card, people will start doing it. Maybe there is not huge demand at the moment, but if there is such an option, people will have their assets and start using them, not just cashing out to your bank account and then paying from bank account, because this is an additional step.
Yeah, and I think, you know, and payments is the critical point in transferring crypto from something you hold to something that you use every day. I think our CEO was on stage earlier today and said the crypto population went from 100 to 300 million last year, and we're heading to 1 billion this year. This isn't a problem, this is just where we are in the evolution, and we're going to watch this shift happen. And as you rightly said, it's going to be a matter of competition. We're going to be competing for that payment space.
I think you said something earlier in the kind of pre-stage where you're like, you know, even if they don't want to use it right now, we want crypto to be where it's going to be. You have to be able to pay with it. Even if people, you know, the opportunity or the possibility needs to be there in order there to even be legitimacy. So it's a kind of a chicken and an egg situation.
Yeah, and I think we'll watch that ecosystem grow over this year, and there are more opportunities, more choices for both the businesses and the consumer. You know, they'll be able to pick from a range of ways to pay. And we'll start seeing more and more crypto at checkout.
I think adding to what Peter said is that, well, if you see it as an investment, then it's completely different, right? Many of you know a person who bought something quite expensive for Bitcoin 5 years ago, and now it's like super, super expensive, like, for example, 2 Bitcoin for an Air Baltic plane ticket. I know a person who did that, not very happy now. So if you look at it from that kind of perspective, then it's, you know, never ever anyone who understands the value of Bitcoin will they spend it on consumables. Yeah. But if they get paid in crypto, that's a completely different situation. I guess you could ask CZ about it, because he's always like, I cannot buy the dip because I'm all in crypto. So if you are in that kind of situation, that you get paid in Bitcoin, and then whatever you use, that kind of converts into a good or a fiat kind of by derivative, that's when it turns completely different.
Okay.
I mean, what we are seeing essentially is, I mean, again, most of our customers are financial institutions, and what essentially we're seeing is that, from quite early days, right, we've kind of taken this approach of working with the ecosystem, whether it be governments, regulators, banks, etc., everybody, and in a way we're seeing that is kind of paying off quite really nicely now, because those who may be kind of, oh gosh, we can't really even contemplate using crypto and talking about it, today they're coming to us to kind of say, look, now our end users, our consumers are demanding crypto from us, whichever way we use them, right? And they're coming, to partners like us to kind of say, look, help us figure out how to get in there. So, and one other thing to add is, I mean, we've recently done some research, interviewing sort of hundreds of professionals, and one of the things that's come out is like just over 40% of sort of consumers I was interviewed, said we're much more likely to transact with a merchant if they're accepting crypto.
So I think that's a great follow-up for the next question, which is, let's say these businesses, private, small individuals to huge corporations that are accepting crypto payments. So again, this is most crypto assets, unless they're stable coins, we'll get to that from the next questions, are pretty volatile. So what do you see? Is crypto payments another way of getting more companies into crypto? Are these businesses going to be mini Michael Saylors because they're keeping Bitcoin in their treasury right now? Or is it almost automatically being converted to stable/fiat?
I think that's strategically, absolutely, volatility should be eliminated, and the way that can
Crypto?
in crypto.
Good luck, dude.
I mean for payments, so it should be eliminated through stables or through fiat. So and for sure there is no sustainable story about trying to buy something with Bitcoin regularly, and the merchant will accept Bitcoin and will have Bitcoin unless the merchant can pay to his providers in Bitcoin. But let's say this 10-20 years from now. So for sure there will be a conversion to stables or fiat as for today, and the next step in crypto payments would be stable coins, and stable coins will drive it massively.
I can give you an example of where you can almost eliminate, volatility. I think it really depends on how you're using crypto, right? Again, in this kind of, what we're doing with RippleNet is actually using XRP as a bridge currency. Like our customers, the financial institutions, they have exposure to XRP for a fraction of the second. XRP settles in 3 seconds, so it's a fraction of the second. You're in and out so quickly. And if you compare that to, doing a fiat transaction through a SWIFT sort of typical transaction, essentially, the volatility you have with XRP exposure is like 1/10 of what you have for a typical SWIFT transaction. So, the point is it really depends how you're using it.
Sure. Okay.
No, but I mean, for a company, it's similar as the consumer. They just want to sell their goods and get money in their accounts, right? So most of them obviously convert, and most of the crypto payment providers provide that option to convert immediately. But if they would want to keep, I think that's kind of a bit more visionary entrepreneurs that, keep, I don't know, 10% of the revenue in Bitcoin, for example, and be the Michael Saylor, right?
We're going to finish with some visionary entrepreneurs doing some big moves with crypto soon.
Yeah, for sure. But one thing I think that companies are really scared of is the accounting. How do we book this? How does the tax office look at this? And why do I have to worry about it if I can just get my old euro in the account and sleep peacefully? So.
Okay, so we're gonna almost starting to wrap up. We touched this a few times. So stable coins. So I think we all agree that right now most of crypto payments and what we see the future of crypto payments is still via the representation of fiat values. So there's two ways. There's stable coins as we're doing today, and then there's the whole discussions around CBDCs. Pros, cons, differences. Where do you see the future of it? Is one going to kill the other? Is it coexist? What do you guys think?
Well, I think that this is the question of execution of CBDC regulation, and if it would be, if using CBDC would be the same as usage of stables, for sure there is a massive opportunity. But I have some concerns.
I think we all do.
Well, if China is embracing it, then that's a signal already. So what kind of technology do they like? So I think it's very scary to have CBDCs be the main payment method. The surveillance is absolute. The control can be absolute. It's kind of similar to stablecoins in a sense, because stablecoins are basically built on top of the existing financial system and are also centrally controlled through the whatever Ethereum protocols that they're using or whatever chains. So speaking as a crypto utopian, then better have higher adoption of Bitcoin, less volatility in Bitcoin, use Lightning for payments, and keep the decentralized world decentralized.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't have CDCs without stablecoins. We wouldn't have stablecoins without private coins, and we're an ecosystem. We just want a level playing field. We want choice for businesses and choice for consumers, and that's the important thing.
So we're saying in a world that we think that maybe stablecoins will let you be exposed to the fiat price, but not being able to be stopped by a government stopping X amount of dollars or whatever what they could with real fiat, where CBDCs would just be a complete change from regular fiat, I guess. Okay.
I mean, I would go with coexist, right? Again, I think they all have different kind of purposes. I mean, CBDCs, I guess you mentioned sort of absolute control. It's really in the design of how that CBDC is created, right? Whether, if you can build in privacy, etc. So stable coins, super interesting, provide sort of more on and off ramps to crypto, but there's a lot of, again, challenges in terms of not being able to have KYC AML for every transaction. It's still quite fragmented in terms of liquidity, right? Like today you have USDC on different blockchains. They are not necessarily interoperable. So I think definitely coexist, and interoperability is going to be increasingly way more important.
So one thing, actually, I'm pretty sure most people know it, but so CBDC is a central backed digital currency, so like a digital dollar or yen by country. So actually a follow-up, it wasn't on the list, but I'm just thinking about it. So talking about stable coins, the future, what do you guys think about the fact that, to the best of my knowledge, till today, almost all stable coins that have succeeded, even mildly, are US dollar pegged? We haven't seen any other, not a gold, not a euro, not a yen, not a nothing. Why is that?
I think that it is some legacy. That first really good stable is USDT, and it was pledged to US dollar, and then USDC expanded. So we are now at the point, I talk with a lot of people in crypto, and all of them are thinking, when you're discussing stables, so that there should be multi-currency stables.
They've tried. No one. I'm not saying no one. The audience didn't love it.
Yeah. Well, the issue. A lot of people are trying with the euro, and with euro you have additional challenge with negative rates. So it is a bit difficult to do this. And then it comes to the most used currencies. So then the volume is really lower. And with that volume, you should have your own liquidity. You should have your own use case. So I believe that stables should be issued by large crypto exchanges. So because they always have liquidity. But it is a challenge for them because there is a lot of regulatory work.
I think it comes from the fact that dollar up until today still is the world reserve currency, and combined with the crypto markets that are 24/7 global, dollar is just respected everywhere in every corner of the world. And I think if you go to, I don't know, Philippines and offer them euro for something, I don't think they will be too happy about it. But dollar is a language everybody understands. So I think that's why they really are so predominant.
All right, cool. We have 5 minutes left, so we're going to do one question, maybe a bit time for Q&A. Got to end with Mr. Elon Musk potentially acquiring all of Twitter, wanting to make it a private company. Is he the crypto messiah and Twitter's the vehicle who's going to make crypto win everything, or is... What do we think about that?
I can start about, well, first of all,
No one wants to piss him off. He's not, look, don't worry.
I'll start with the fact that when we were preparing for this, it was just 9%.
Yeah.
So it was basically thrown on our lap.
When I wrote the initial question, he didn't even put the initial bid. And then a week later or whatever, so
yeah, well,
it's escalated quickly.
Fast. It's escalating fast, and I think that one thing we should be careful about is putting too much into it for crypto land. So he's his own man. He has his own agenda. One day he's pro Bitcoin, another day he is not so pro Bitcoin. So I think it's more about Twitter as such, freedom of speech, censorship, and whatever vision he has for the town square of the internet, as he called it. So I would be cautious of announcing this as some kind of huge boon for crypto.
I'll give my personal opinion on the only question here, and I think that Jack Dorsey's done much more for crypto and Bitcoin than Elon Musk will ever do.
You know, but this is definitely the trend. So all large players like Meta, like for example Telegram, they're trying to do crypto. So Mr. Musk
raised a few $1 billion to do crypto.
Yeah, not in that way. So, but Mr. Musk just needs his own social network to try to put crypto inside this. But this is definitely a trend, and I believe that in several years we'll see this big new move where crypto will become some part of really large social networks or other large players.
All right. The big guys on stage don't want to mess with Elon. I got it. All right, we got 2.5 minutes. Time for 1 or 2 questions, or just everyone wants a longer break. Sir, what is your question? Excuse me, sir. I understand you have an opinion. You can voice it later. I still don't have a question, and so I'm going to move on. I apologize.
I think that we need one more chair.
Yeah, exactly. Next time, book a keynote. Question? No? All right, you won, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you for my guests. Thank you all for joining us.